When Jackie decided to divorce Doug, the news spread everywhere. People were shocked because they always seemed like a happy couple. But what surprised everyone even more was the amount of money Jackie was asking for, $300 million. It was such a huge amount that it was hard to believe. Everyone started asking the same questions. How could a marriage that looked so perfect end in such a terrible way? What had gone so wrong? At first, Jackie played the role of a heartbroken wife. She told everyone that she had no choice but to leave because Doug had betrayed her and destroyed their marriage. She gave interviews, cried in front of cameras, and made sure people saw her as the victim. The media quickly took her side. They wrote articles calling Doug a cheater and a liar. They said he did not deserve his success, that he had broken Jackie's trust, and that he was a selfish man who only cared about himself. People believed Jackie's story without questioning it. Fans who once supported Doug turned against him overnight. Social media was filled with angry comments, and reporters followed him everywhere, asking questions he refused to answer. He stayed silent, never defending himself, which made people believe he was guilty. Jackie had successfully painted him as the villain, and no one doubted her. For weeks, Jackie walked into the courtroom with confidence, sure that she had everything under control. She had convinced the world that she was the victim, and she thought Doug had no way to fight back, but she had no idea what was about to happen. On the day that changed everything, Doug's lawyer stood up, holding a folder in his hands. He walked to the judge and handed over some important documents. The judge's face changed as he read them. His eyebrows furrowed, and then he looked up at Jackie's legal team. "Would you like to explain this?" the judge asked, his voice firm. A heavy silence filled the room. Jackie's confident smile faded as she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She whispered something to her lawyer, but it was too late. Doug had not just come to defend himself. He had come to expose the truth. The documents revealed shocking details. Jackie had been hiding money, lying about her financial situation, and twisting facts to make herself look innocent. She had pretended to be broke while secretly moving millions into hidden accounts. She had planned everything carefully, making sure people felt sorry for her while she tried to take as much money as possible from Doug. Gasps filled the courtroom. Jackie's face turned pale as she realized what was happening. The woman who had accused Doug of betrayal was now caught in her own web of lies. But the biggest shock came next. Jackie was not just at risk of losing the case, she was now in serious legal trouble. Financial fraud was a serious crime, and the evidence against her was strong. Doug's lawyer stepped forward. "While Jackie has been telling the world she is struggling, she has actually been hiding millions of dollars," he said. Jackie's hands trembled as she tried to keep her composure. She had never expected this. She had always believed she could control the situation, but now the truth was out, and there was nowhere to hide. The judge sighed and turned toward Jackie's lawyer. "Do you have anything to say?" Jackie's lawyer hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Jackie finally spoke, her voice shaking. "This is ridiculous," she said angrily. "Doug just wants to ruin me because he does not want to pay me." Doug's lawyer smirked. "That is not true," he said, "and we have proof." He handed another set of documents to the judge. The courtroom fell silent again as the judge read through them. His eyes widened. "Jackie, these documents show that you planned this entire thing long before you even filed for divorce," he said. Jackie opened her mouth to argue, but then something unexpected happened. Instead of denying it, she let out a cold, bitter laugh. She smirked and shook her head. "Do you really think this means I have lost?" she asked. She looked at Doug and leaned forward. "Doug, you have no idea who you are dealing with. I always have a backup plan." Doug's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Jackie's expression turned dark. She lowered her voice and whispered, "Did you really think I would not protect myself? If I go down, I am not going alone." Doug's lawyer frowned. "Is that a threat?" Jackie smirked. "I know something, Doug. Something you do not want the world to find out. And if you keep pushing me, I will not hesitate to use it." Doug studied her carefully. Then he shook his head. "Jackie, you do not scare me," he said. The judge banged his gavel. "We will take a short break before continuing." As people started leaving the courtroom, Jackie turned to Melissa, her former assistant. "You will regret this," she hissed. Melissa met her eyes without fear. "No, Jackie, I regret staying quiet for so long." Doug watched as Jackie was escorted out of tea. The world watched as her carefully built image collapsed. She had spent so much time making Doug look like the villain, but now the truth was clear. She was the real villain in this story. The judge sighed. "I will take time to review everything before making a final decision." Doug, however, had one last thing to say. He turned to Jackie and spoke with a calm but firm voice. "I stayed silent for years," he said. "I let you twist the truth and destroy my reputation. But now the real story is out." Jackie's lawyer tried to interrupt, but Doug's lawyer raised a hand. "Your Honor, we have voice recordings and emails proving that Jackie planned this entire thing from the start." The first recording played, and Jackie's own voice filled the room. "I will make him pay. He thinks he is smart, but he will not see this coming." Then an email appeared on the screen. It was from Jackie to her financial advisor, written months before she even filed for divorce. "We need to move the money before I take him to court. I need to look broke. The worse I look, the stronger my case." Silence. Jackie's own words had destroyed her case. The judge turned to her. "Miss Christie, do you understand how serious this is?" Jackie sat frozen, speechless. Doug took a deep breath and turned to the judge. "I am requesting an immediate dismissal and full damages for the harm she has caused me." The judge nodded. "With the overwhelming evidence, I see no reason for this case to continue." Jackie sat in shock. Outside the courtroom, reporters wasted no time announcing Jackie Christie's downfall. Doug was finally free. His name was cleared, and the truth was known to all. People had already made up their minds about Doug. They believed Jackie's story, and they saw him as the villain. Everywhere he went, he could feel the judgment in people's eyes. He was no longer the respected man he once was. His reputation was ruined, and it seemed like there was nothing he could do to change it. But Doug was finally ready to speak. For weeks, he had remained silent, letting Jackie give emotional interviews and tell the world that she was the victim. She had cried on camera, acted heartbroken, and told stories of betrayal. She made sure people saw her as the innocent one who had been wronged. But Doug knew the truth was completely different. He had stayed quiet for too long, but he was not going to do that anymore. He could not just sit back while Jackie spread lies and turned everyone against him. Doug was not only fighting to save his money, he was fighting for his name. He had worked for years to build his career, his reputation, and his success. He had built a life through hard work and dedication. He was not going to let Jackie destroy everything with her false accusations. While Jackie was busy trying to win people's sympathy, Doug had been working behind the scenes. He was not interested in playing the victim. He was focused on gathering evidence and making sure the truth came out. He wanted justice, not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever been falsely accused and manipulated by someone they trusted. But what made the situation even more shocking was that Doug had something no one expected: solid proof. For weeks, Jackie had painted herself as the innocent woman who had suffered because of Doug. She had told everyone that she was left with nothing, that she had been cheated on, and that Doug had turned into a heartless man. She claimed that she deserved every penny of the $300 million she was asking for. But Doug had discovered something that changed everything. His legal team had been digging through documents, messages, and bank records. They had found something that Jackie had desperately tried to hide. She had been planning this for a long time. Long before she even filed for divorce, Jackie had already been moving money into secret accounts. She had sent emails to her financial advisor, making sure her wealth was hidden so that she could appear as if she had nothing. She had been carefully setting the stage, making sure that when she took Doug to court, she would look like the struggling wife who had been abandoned. Doug's team had also found voice recordings. Jackie had been caught saying things that proved she had planned everything from the start. "I will make him pay." Jackie's voice echoed in the courtroom as the first recording played. "He thinks he is smart, but he will not see this coming." Gasps filled the room. Jackie's confident expression vanished. Her hands shook slightly, but she quickly forced herself to stay calm. Doug's lawyer did not stop there. He pulled up an email on the screen for everyone to see. It was a message Jackie had sent months before she even filed for divorce. "We need to move the money before I take him to court," the email read. "I need to look broke. The worse I look, the stronger my case." The courtroom went completely silent. Jackie's own words had destroyed her case. She had spent so much time making Doug look like the bad person. But now everyone could see the truth. She had carefully planned everything. She had lied, manipulated the media, and fooled millions of people into believing she was the victim. The judge's face was serious as he looked at Jackie. "Miss Christie, do you understand the seriousness of this?" he asked. Jackie opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. She was speechless. Her lawyer whispered something to her, but she shook her head. Doug stood up. He had been quiet for too long, and now it was his turn to speak. "After everything you put me through," he said, his voice steady, "dragging my name through the mud, lying to the world, trying to destroy my life, I had no choice but to handle this privately. I did not want to fight like this, but you left me no choice." He turned to the judge. "I am requesting an immediate dismissal and full damages for the financial and emotional harm she has caused me." The judge nodded slowly. "With the overwhelming evidence presented, I see no reason for this case to continue." Jackie sat, frozen. The woman who had walked into the courtroom with so much confidence now looked lost. Everything she had planned had fallen apart. She had spent months making Doug the villain, but now the truth was out for everyone to see. The reporters wasted no time spreading the news. Jackie Christie's downfall was all over the headlines, and Doug, he was finally free. His name was cleared, and the truth had won. Doug had solid proof, and it could change everything. At first, Jackie's lawyers felt sure they would win. They believed they had already made Doug look like the bad person, and had all the proof they needed. Jackie kept saying she had given up everything for Doug's success. She claimed that without her, he would have never reached where he was today. Her supporters stood by her side, telling her to fight back. People saw Doug as a selfish man who left the woman who had always supported him. But this was not only about money. It was about hidden truths. And Doug had something that could change. The whole story. Doug had a powerful secret, one that Jackie never thought he would reveal. As the pressure increased, Doug stayed calm, allowing Jackie to believe she was in control. But behind the scenes, he was preparing for the biggest change of his life. He was not in a hurry. He was waiting for the perfect moment. When the time finally came, Doug had the best investigators and lawyers by his side. He had documents that could completely break Jackie's case in an instant. As his legal team stepped forward, they were ready to reveal something so shocking that Jackie's lawyer started to look uncomfortable. Reporters, fans, and legal experts watched closely, knowing that something big was about to happen. The courtroom was full of people, all waiting to... "When you treat people badly, their loyalty does not last forever," Doug said calmly. Doug's lawyer let out a small laugh. "Even your own assistant and everyone who helped you do this have turned against you." The judge looked at Jackie. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Jackie's breathing became heavy. She knew there was no way out. But then, she did something no one expected. A cold, bitter laugh echoed through the courtroom. Jackie smirked and shook her head. "Do you really think this means I have lost?" she said. She turned to Doug, her eyes filled with confidence. "Doug, you have no idea who you are dealing with. I always have a backup plan." Doug's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Jackie leaned in closer, her voice low and sharp. "Did you really think I would not cover my tracks while doing all this? If I go down, I am not going alone." Doug's lawyer frowned. "Is that a threat?" Jackie's voice became even quieter. "I know something, Doug. Something you do not want anyone to find out. And if you push me, I will not think twice before using it." Doug watched her carefully, his face calm. He stayed silent for a moment, then shook his head. "Jackie, you do not scare me. The judge banged the gavel. The judge banged the gavel firmly. We will take a short break before continuing. As people started leaving the courtroom, Jackie turned to Melissa, her eyes filled with anger. You will regret this. Melissa looked straight at her. No, Jackie. I regret staying silent for so long. Doug watched as Jackie was taken away. He knew this fight was not over, but he was no longer worried. Jackie might still have some tricks left, but this time, he was ready. When the trial started again, Doug was more determined than ever. This was no longer just about money. This was about justice. The courtroom became completely silent as Doug's lawyer stood up. Jackie's assets have been frozen while the financial fraud investigation continues. Her request for more alimony is denied. Next week, the court will meet again to discuss what happens next. Jackie could not control herself. She jumped up. From her seat, her voice filled with panic. You cannot do this to me. Doug, please, let us talk. Doug's face remained cold and serious. Jackie opened her mouth to say more, but when she saw his expression, she stopped. Doug looked straight at Jackie, his voice calm but firm. I let you twist the truth. I let you turn me into the villain. But now, it is time for the real story to come out. Jackie's lawyer quickly stood up, ready to interrupt, but Doug's attorney raised a hand. Your Honor, we have voice recordings and emails that prove Jackie planned everything from the start. The courtroom became silent. Doug's attorney pressed play. Jackie's voice echoed through the room. I will make him pay. He thinks he is smart, but he will never see this coming. Gasps filled the courtroom. Then, another piece of evidence appeared on the screen. An email Jackie had sent months before she even filed for divorce. She had been planning this all along. Now, the truth was out, and there was no way for her to escape it. Jackie's own words had completely destroyed her case. The courtroom was silent as the judge looked at her with a serious expression. Miss Christie, do you understand how serious this is? Jackie opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She had not only lied, she had carefully planned everything to ruin Doug and take his money. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering something, but Jackie shook her head. She was not ready to give up, even though it was clear she had already lost. Doug slowly stood up, his voice calm but firm. After everything you did, after all the lies and tricks, this is where it all ends. Doug took a deep breath and looked straight at Jackie. You have lied about me, ruined my name, and tried to destroy my life, he said in a steady voice. I had no choice but to stay quiet, but now the truth is clear for everyone to see. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, I ask for this case to be dismissed immediately. I also request full compensation for the financial and emotional damage she has caused me. The judge gave a slow nod. With the strong evidence presented, there is no reason for this case to continue. Then he turned to Jackie. Miss Christie, you need to prepare for the consequences of your actions. Jackie sat frozen, her face pale. Everything she had planned, every lie she had told, was now exposed. There was no way out. Everything Jackie had planned had fallen apart in a single moment. She had spent so much time believing she was smarter than everyone else, but in the end, she had only fooled herself. Outside the courtroom, reporters rushed to share the shocking news. Jackie Christie's lies had been exposed, and her downfall was now public for everyone to see. Doug was finally free. His name was cleared, his reputation was safe, and for the first time in a long time, he could move forward without Jackie's lies holding him back. You gotta have a